Visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So there is something called a blockchain explorer, right? If you Google it, blockchain explorer, there are like all the Bitcoin, Ethereum, whichever cryptocurrencies are working right now, right? Uh, based, you can see a whole blockchain of that, all the transactions which is happening, right? We'll get into all these details, right? What is the hash rate and all those things later on. I just wanted to show you what does actually a block means, right? In a blockchain, right? So if I, uh, be, right now it is visible or not? The new screen.
So visible.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Visible.
Yeah. So if you see here, right now, how many blocks? The latest block which was created, maybe time will be written somewhere here. It is just 5 minutes back. Right now, the current, at least the average time to create a block in Bitcoin is around 10 minutes, right? So, like I said, it is average, not necessarily it will be always 10 minutes. So, if you see, one block is created 5 minutes back, another block before that, which has been created 23 minutes back. So, basically, to create this block, it took around 18 minutes, right? So, average has been, if you take overall 10 minutes it takes to create a block. Why that 10 minutes and how it is being managed, we'll discuss later on. So basically, this data is open to. So I am not a. I do not have a node. I do not have a access to this Bitcoin blockchain, right? But I can see. So everything is, to be honest, in one way, it is open to all, right? So when you talk about privacy, right? So privacy will come into the next part. So now this is a public blockchain, right? Anybody who has access to a computer, has access to internet, right? Can open a Bitcoin blockchain or Ethereum blockchain and understand how many transactions has happened, right? So if I click here right now, right? So what is this F2 pull and pull and all those things, we'll discuss that later on. So those are blockchain miners. So if I just click here, just taking certain time. So just see how many transactions has been happened in that block, 2055 transactions, right? So what do you mean by a transaction, right? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what happens, let's say Samrat sends certain money to, or there is an agreement between Samrat and Chinmay that Chinmay will send certain material and Samrat will pay money to him, right? Or anything else, right? Or there is a goods exchange, right? So that can be treated as a transaction, right? So what happens earlier, if I want to do that, I have to take a help from bank, right? I'll send the money. Right now, the Google Pay and all those things platforms has come. Otherwise, earlier what used to happen, I'll transfer through either through a check or through a net banking. So that itself need a third party who is there in between, a central repository who has all the information of my account, or let's say Samrat's account and Chinmay's account. Then if let's say Samrat wants to send 200 or 500 rupees, right? That bank will check whether you have that money, right, in your account. Then if it is there, it will send. If you see 10 years or 15 years back, most of the times transactions of, if it is a big amount, it used to take 1 to 2 days or 3 days, right? Just to transfer money from one individual to another inside a country's border, right? Forget about if I'm sending to USA or Europe. That is a separate case. I have to get authorization from and all those things, right? But in blockchain, what happens, or the use case of one blockchain use cases like Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? Any transactions which are happening, right? Maximum within 10 minutes, those transactions can be recorded, right? So that is one part of it, speed of it, right? Second part of it is that I can send it to anywhere in this world. If you have a account, you have a private key, I can send to your private key any monetary terms. Now what happens? There is no central authority who is checking those transactions, right? So that's where what whenever you talked about those, it is not actually decentralized, it is a distributed. We'll discuss what is the difference between that. So now when you talk about that, right, who is going to see that whether I have, let's say Samrat wants to send zero 0.5 Bitcoin or 0.2 Bitcoin to Chinmay or vice versa, right? who will check that whether you have that kind of money in your account, right? And it has gone to the correct account of Chinmay, because that can be thousands or millions or lakhs of Chinmay in this world, right? Who is going to verify that, right? So think of that transaction, right? From person A to person B, organization A to organization B, right? And what is that transaction? We'll look into that later on, right? Now what happens whenever in those 10 minutes of time, so that 10 minutes has been defined, right? So number of transactions happening through that blockchain, right? I will collate them together. When I say I, those people, those miners who are working on that blockchain, right? So they'll collate them together and create this block. Right now, what happens? Uh, so now what has happened? The mining power requires that much investment, that much money. People like me and you cannot mine it, right? It needs a lot of significant computing power. Again, I'm just giving you overview. Don't worry if you do not understand all this. Whatever is written, we'll go again detail one by one. So F2 pool might be one miner. There is another called ant pool. So there are basically number of miners get together and they pool their resources, right? So this person has created this block, right? And he has got around 6.39 bitcoins. BTC is Bitcoin, right? And how many transactions under that? Yeah. So who was raised now? Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Ashwin and
Sir,
Alisa. Yeah.
sir, I was asking that, sir, but people usually they build their mining ring. Anybody can build the mining ring with a sufficiently powerful graphics card, and they can mine. They already mine the Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yes. So if
Say,
you have a lot of money, you can create that. So I'm not telling you cannot create that, but it requires a lot of investment. So it is not that you cannot create. If you put a lot of money, you can create your. So basically, it is a computer resource power, right? You need to have that much mining power to mine. See, it happens like it is basically first come first serve basis. If you are able to solve that puzzle, right? And what is that puzzle? We will discuss that
yes, sir.
as soon as possible, right? You will get that Bitcoin. So what happens unless you have that much computing power, right? So it is just a simple arithmetic puzzle, right? Searching for that random number. So whichever person or whichever number of person, group of persons have that big mining power, right? So they'll be able to solve that puzzle as quickly as possible, right? You might, so I'm not telling you cannot create, but what will happen? You will put an investment of 10 lakh rupees or 20 lakhs rupees to create that mine. But if somebody else or the group of people have bigger mining power than you, so they will be always solving that puzzle faster than you, right? So in that case, what happens? Rather than somebody single person creating a Bitcoin mine, it is always better to group them together and have that computing power, bigger computing power. Because earlier it used to happen in the beginning, because nobody knew Bitcoin, nobody thought of blockchain, right? Individual people like me, and when it started basically from a desktop or a laptop, right? So that much computing power, you can solve that puzzle and create. The complexity was very less. Now the complexity is very high. So you might invest 10 lakh, 20 lakh rupees creating that infrastructure, but you may not be able to compete with those guys, right? So that is one big problem. Yes, Alisa, you had certain questions.
Yes, sir. You said that while transaction, like from one account to another, if we are even transacting, there is no proper authority to regulate those transactions. So it's like illegal transactions can also take place through this. So is this legal?
Exactly. So that is where the regulation part comes, right? So and that is where the challenge is there, right? Uh, she said correctly, if there is no central authority, right? Now what happens? Anything illegal, you want to like kind of, and that used to happen those website Silk Road or the kind of other website where those transactions used to happen, right? Exactly, that is one of the big challenge for governments and any regulatory authority, how to handle that. So it is a distributed system, right? There is no central authority. So I can send money to anyone, anywhere, and I can buy drugs or anything out of that, right? Anything out of that money, right? And that is the biggest challenge of I'll not say of blockchain, of basically right now the cryptocurrency and all those things. And that is where the challenge comes to regulate them, right? So as you can understand that in each block there are a number of transactions, right? And how those transactions get added and how to solve those puzzle, we'll discuss that later on. Yes, Ankita.
Sir, as you said that there is no regulatory body that that will see that whether your account has money or not. So frauds can also be created out of it. Like I don't have money, but I have made the payment. So, sir, how
Okay.
how
Yeah,
he will receive
correct,
the
correct,
money?
correct. So basically those miners, right, Bitcoin miners, when they solve that puzzle, the first step of the puzzle is to see that whether the transactions can be, so they verify the transaction, right? So automatically they'll see blockchain is or the Bitcoin or the cryptocurrency, when I'm putting that money, right, it is something basically a code, right? It has nothing to do with a, so when you talk about let's say what, Indian rupees or USD, right? Let's say if I say that I have 50,000 rupees in my account, right? Tomorrow if I can go and I ask that, okay, give me my 50,000 money, 50,000 rupees, or I withdraw 10,000 rupees from ATM, so I'll have those physical notes, right? But when I'm talking about the any cryptocurrency based out of blockchain, right, it is a simple bit of code, so mix of transactions, right? So what happens, those people who are Bitcoin miners, right? So the first step in creating a block is to verify the transactions. Verify the transactions means whether that person has money or not to send to that other person, right? Second part is to, once very, let's say 1,000 or 2,000, based upon the time limit, right, has been verified, they will be merged into one block and the block will be created. So to answer your question, yes, there is no central authority, those blockchain miners. So that's why you need a lot of computing power. Verify the transaction. Each of those transactions you have to verify. And everything is available on the public. So if you have the computing power, you can download the public blockchain of Bitcoin or Ethereum and become a miner. Like one of you was asking that question, right? Can you create that? Yes. But will you be in a position to earn money out of blockchain? At least at this point of time, no, because the mining power requires to create those blocks is huge, right? We won't have that much computing power in our hand. Yes, Samrat.
Sir, I tried to mine Monero once on the laptop provided by Kit. After running for 21 hours, sir, it gave me a profit of 3 rupees 84 paise.
And just imagine how much electricity you might have
Sir, my
consumed.
laptop, sir, my
You would
laptop
need
was sounding like I was frying popcorn on it.
you would
And
need
that,
very powerful graphics card for that rig.
graphics card, and one of the big challenge on electricity part, what Samrat told.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Electricity.
uh, right now, if you see Tesla has started, like, obviously there are other things
Yes,
in
sir,
behind.
Tesla T4 GPU is available
Yeah.
for mining.
So the point is, one part is the infrastructure part. You can buy those graphics and you can buy that processors and use it to create that rig, right? So rig to mine the Bitcoin or any other currency, right? But the challenge is the other part, electricity part, right? It will be huge, right? By the month end, the amount of money you spend on electricity, right? It won't be profitable for you, right? And that is where the right now, so this is something known as a proof of work mechanism, right? So you are solving certain puzzles or a arithmetic puzzle, right? You are finding that random number. But right now, most of the people are, Ethereum is moving into proof of stake, right? Rather than, because proof of work, every time you are solving a puzzle, right? And it is consuming electricity, right? Rather than that, they're moving into proof of stake, right? We'll discuss that. What is the difference between those two mechanisms, right? Why most of the blockchain right now moving into proof of stake? Because see, you have to be profitable, right? Because by the time you earn this much Bitcoin or Ethereum, and you have spent much more on electricity and your capital investment, there won't be any miners, right? And actually, right now the profit is decreasing. Number of coins you get for approving the blockchain or creating a block in a blockchain, right? Over the years, it will keep reducing. That is the process of halving, right? So we'll talk on that, and that has been already designed in algorithm. Nobody can change that, right? So, so this is just an overview to like give you a basics of blockchain. So think in this way: blockchain is a consolidation of transactions. Block is a consolidation of transactions. Blockchain is a consolidation or a linkage of different blocks, right? So now to answer some of your questions, so where does this privacy comes, right? As you can see, if you get into that blockchain explorer, right? Under that, if you can see that how many transactions has happened, right? You can understand from which account to what, right? But all the accounts has been like using a hash function, right? That has been hidden from you. So that is nothing but, so I cannot know that, okay, I know that from account 1 to account 1200, some amount of money has been transferred. But which are those two accounts, I do not know. So those two persons only will know. So that is the privacy part. So it is basically a open system, but each of those accounts who has like transacted from or like use that blockchain, right? Their identity has been kind of hidden from the public view, right? So what happens? And that is the big problem what Alisa was telling about, right? If somebody buys like illegal drugs or something else in the market, right, using this money, right? What used to happen, like if you do use your, let's say, credit card or debit card, right? Obviously, bank will provide that data to government, right? Now this data, there is no authority to give that data to government, right? Or even they want give those data, right? Government cannot decrypt it, right? They will just have a code of 64 uh, combination of numbers, alphanumericals, numbers, and so if I say my name will be changed or my account name will be changed to a 64 combination of numbers and kind of your alphabets, right? So even a government or a, let's say, RBI or SBI or whichever authority will get that details, right? They will not able to decrypt it. So it is a one way. Once I using a hash algorithm or cryptography, I put that into my name or my account number to something else. That cannot be with that. If somebody gives that 64 digit or alphanumerical information to certain government, they will not able to know which account is this. And that is where the big challenge is there. So one of the biggest advantage of blockchain is privacy, and that is also the biggest disadvantage why governments or the regulatory authority are not like accepting it. So when I say not accepting it, the public blockchain part of it. Again, there are different blockchains, private blockchains and hybrid blockchains, which we'll be getting into, right? And that is the biggest roadblock for going forward with blockchain. But again, like each government have that by another 2 to 3 years, right? Right now, I think 10 banks in India have come up together. They'll be creating their own cryptocurrency based upon blockchain. Different central banks across world, they are thinking of creating their own blockchain. Bigger banks like JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, they will be creating own cryptocurrency. So somehow there will be certain adaptations towards it, right? But how quickly that happen, that we have to see. Unless governments authorizes it, right, it won't happen. Is there any questions before we proceed?
Sir, Abhijit is in the waiting room. Please let him in.
Sir,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
is hash code?
Hash rate or a hash code?
Hash code, sir.
Hash code is basically, if, like I said, there is an algorithm, right? Hash algorithm, right? If my account is there or my transaction is there, right? Through that algorithm or through that usage of that algorithm, it will be changed to a cryptographic identity, right? So that is what known as a hash. So every time a transaction happens, right? So by using that algorithm, right, I'll be changing that, I'll be like updating that to a alphanumerical 64-bit alphanumerical mix of digits and alphabets, right? So that is nothing but a hash. Yes, yes. Who is this? Satya, yeah.
Yes, sir. Sir, other than cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Ethereum, blockchain do have other applications.
Correct.
Like some of the banks use as security layers, use it as a security layer. Some of the medicals in the United States, they do as security sharing because their medical is a very private thing. Then they also use this thing in IoT. So we will be covering other applications too, or we will
Yes.
stick to this cryptocurrency only?
Exactly. To answer your question, yes, so we are going to cover most of it. Some part you are going to cover. So when I say you, as a group, you have to search on internet and find those use cases. But from my side also, let me just, I think it has opened. Let us go through the session plan first before getting into the presentation part. So to answer Satya's question, so the first few sessions, at least up to 6 sessions, right, we'll get into the details of blockchain technology, right, and smart contract, which is one of the biggest use cases, right. Then as a group of 5 members, right, you have to present a existing use case, right. It can be into healthcare, it can be into automobiles, it can be into IoT. Choose your industry, or it can be into financial services. As most of you are from kind of taken finance as your elective, right? But choose different use cases. In finance also, there are different use cases. There can be decentralized finance also. It can be kind of crowdfunding also, right? DAO also, right? Cryptocurrency itself is a big use case, right? So if some of the groups, because I think there are 17 or 18 students are from finance background, right? You can, so the financial services, there is not a single use case. There can be multiple use cases using financial services. You can take that. Others having other kind of specializations, right? You can take like let's say supply chain manufacturing. You can take a public sector. You can take healthcare. You can take marketing also. How you can market, how you can like use blockchain for better marketing also. There will be use cases for that, right? So to answer Satya's questions, once from your side the presentations are over, I'll be taking around 4 to 5 sessions to discuss in detail how blockchain are being used in across different industries, different sectors. Obviously, financial services will be one big sector. Already you would have discussed here when you were discussing Bitcoin or Ethereum, right? Other like insurance, DAO, decentralized finance, right? DeFi, right? We'll be discussing here. Supply chain manufacturing, healthcare, government policy, public sector. So these are the major industries or sectors we'll be discussing. So from my side, I'll be covering that. Before that, based upon your interest area, right? You can search on internet and that will be your project component one, right? So analyze that, like some of you have already used or started use that mining rig and all those things, right? So you can choose your own use case and try to like kind of explain that in the class, right? So once we complete those, then we'll get into the development tools and frameworks, right? Like I said, here I'll not get into the detailed coding part. I'll get into the framework where I'll show you no code platform and see how to create a blockchain. So by using that, right, your second or the last component, 19th, 18th and 19th session, right? Ideally, you should be able to create a framework. If I want to create a blockchain for soft and supply chain or let's say financial services, how will you create that blockchain, right? So that will be your last presentation, which is again a part of your project. So this part is around 15 marks. Project component one is around 10 marks. So project itself is around 25 marks, right? So is this clear or any questions around it? So this next from session 2 to session 6, right? We'll get into the detail of blockchain technology and part, different types of blockchain technology, right? Then we'll get into your presentation part. So that is about your overall how the session has been planned. But again, like I said, again, it is flexible in case you want something to understand or something to be discussed in the class, right? But you have to tell me beforehand, right? So that I can come to the class with certain material and we can discuss that. Apart from whatever has been covered in the session plan.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, which all companies use blockchain in supply chain and manufacturing, sir?
Right now, at least automobile companies I know of, BMW is using for that part procurement and warranty claim.
Okay, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
So can you explain that project, first project
Again, so what do we have to do? Correct, correct. So just let me get into the presentation part. So your evaluation will be of 60 marks. Out of that, there will be 3 quizzes. I'll take 2, that is 20 marks, 10 marks each. There will be around in between in the class. I'll give certain class exercises, certain caselets. I'll give around 7 and I'll take best 5. So those are 15 marks. Then there is a project, right? Project has 2 components, project component 1, project component 2, right? So in the project component 1, uh, so once you understand how blockchain works, right? So there are enough material on internet on different use cases, right? Bitcoin is a use case or Ethereum is a big use case of blockchain, right? Some group can take that. How insurance companies are using blockchain, some group can take that, right? And how different companies are creating different use cases. Use cases means by using that technology, are you creating a product or a service, right? So that is the meaning of use case, right? So I'm not asking you to create a use case. That will be project component 2. Once you understand like how to create that, what are the frameworks, right? At the first step, find out that what in your sector you're interested, the sectors or industries you are interested in, right? Let's say banks. There are certain central banks which have started creating the kind of using blockchain, certain usage of blockchain, right? So find those use cases, right, and try to present in the class. Let's say some of you are from operations background. Find out the applications of blockchain in supply chain and manufacturing, or healthcare. Healthcare, like one of you were telling about that, there has been usage of blockchain in healthcare also. There is a big use case in marketing, right? So because see, most of the times people right now moving into organic farming and organic food, right? How you make sure that the food which is coming from, I can just put a label, right? Has it been blockchain certified, right? So putting your blockchain certifications on those full supply chain of organic food marketing, right? So you can now market your food accordingly, market your product accordingly, that it cannot be tampered. That means the certificate, if you are providing it is organic food, customers can believe that it is 100% true because it has not been tampered. Otherwise, what will happen? I can just go and put a label, okay, this is organic food, right? Now, if you provide smartphones are there, people can go and scan that barcode and try to understand whether actually it is a organic food, understanding the supply chain, or it is just a somebody just has put a label, right? Because right now most of fraud is happening like that. Most of organic farming companies are coming, they are just buying the products from market, putting the label of organic products, right? So that is a big use case of blockchain. Okay. So like that, based upon your interest area or sector, right? Automobile, like I said, BMW have already started using blockchain to kind of understand the part procurement, the component procurement and warranty claim. There are a lot of resources available on internet on that. So take any company, any industry, try to explain, try to, obviously you have to understand part how it has been used, try to explain. So maximum 5 to 6 slides, try to explain that in the class, right? So that is the first part. In the second part, now you have to create a framework. You have to create a blockchain on your own. Again, the blockchain, some part won't be there where the coding and all those parts, but I'll show you how to create those frameworks, right? So once you know that, you can create that, right? So that is the second part of your project. Is this part clear or any doubt? Yes, yes, Abhijit.
So in post project, you were saying that we can take healthcare sector from organic farm type sector. So that in that case, there is a company and they are using the blockchain part. So we have to just come up with their ideas that what they are doing actually, and we have to form that structure and give it in the project, the component like.
Yeah. So whatever the company is doing, right, or whatever that sector has been doing, it might happen that there are already 4 or 5 companies different using that blockchain in different usage, right? So get that information from internet and explain that in the class, right? So that will be a project component 1.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Any questions on your evaluation part?
So only presentations, no extra reports to be made, right?
No extra.
Thank you, sir.
So the first presentation can be around 5 to 6 slides. Second presentation can be little detailed because we have to create those frameworks, right? So again, maybe 8 to 10 slides.
And topic restriction is not there, like you will be providing
Topic,
5 to 6.
no, topic again, like I said, you can take any topic, but yeah, it should not be repeated. So generally, it should not happen that somebody else has taken a insurance and some other group is taking insurance, or let's say some group has taken IoT, other group also has taken IoT, right? Or so basically, what I want is if there are 9 or 10 groups, they should focus on different. But again, like in financial services, you can take cryptocurrency, decentralized finance. So there are different subsectors of it. I'm okay as long as you can take in different subsectors.
Okay, sir.
Anybody who can like consolidate group names and details can send it to me by next class. Any volunteer?
We'll do that, sir.
Okay, Srith, I'm noting down your name. Please,
Okay, sir.
others, please send the details to us as soon as possible, right? Like I said, right now, at least keep the sector name, sector or subsector name which you want, right? Then anyhow, you'll get time. At least you have around 1 month or 1.5 months before your presentation happens, right? By that time, we would have covered a lot of things about blockchain. So now coming back to ledger. Ledger you can think of, obviously in financial term, ledger is basically bookkeeping, right? But from our side, if you want to understand ledger, ledger means think of a database, right? Where information is kept. It can be a physical database, notes and all those things, or it can be a digital database. Right now, most of the databases, when you think of, all are digital, right? Think of a bank network, right? All the information most of the times is centralized, right? In servers, all the information is kept, right? Anything, any party, let's say this is me, I want to transact money or transact information to somebody else, I have to transact through a centralized authority, right? So when I say ledger or a database, it need not be always financial transactions. It can be anything, right? Right now, if I want to use like kind of send an email, right? I'm using a centralized. It can be Gmail or Outlook, any company who have a centralized database, and all my information is going through them, right? Any emails, SMS, and that is where the like WhatsApp is little better, right? When they're decrypting or crypting using certain algorithms to change my like kind of using cryptography to like provide additional security layer to my message, right? So obviously ledger, when you think of, most of the times it is financial transaction, but it need not be only financial transaction. Any information from one party to other, right? So it can be centralized, it can be decentralized also, right? Decentralized means this node, this central node is taking care of these many participants. Another node is there which is taking care of another 3 participants, right? So there are many nodes which are limited to number of participants, right? Most of the banks actually work like that, right? Once your network has been increased, right? So there will be certain information nodes in India which is taking care of Indian participants or Indian like kind of customers. Similarly, USA, Europe, they'll have different nodes or different centralized database. And all those databases, right, are connected with each other, right? So let's say this person, this node which is here in the bottom part, right? Let's say that person is from India, right? He wants to transact certain money from India to Europe or a Mexico or whichever country, right? So first the application or the information will go from my end to the other, whatever the Mexico or Europe or any other centralized node, then the money will transfer to the participant, right? So that is the meaning of decentralized. Centralized means single node, many participants. Decentralized means many nodes, many participants. Right now, when you talk about distributed, right, all the nodes, right? So there is no central node. There is no single major node, right? Here, what happens? Though it is known as decentralized, right? So what does it mean? There is no single node which is connecting to all the participants. That has been decentralized, right? Rather than a single node here, here how many nodes? Around five, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, 2 to 4 to 6 nodes are there, right? 6 major nodes are there, and all the participants are connected to different 6 nodes, right? So that is the meaning of decentralized. When you talk about distributed, right? Distributed means each node can connect or can participate, can transact with each other, right? All the nodes are connected with each other, right? So that is the meaning of distributed. So if I have a database, right? If I have a collection, database means collection of information, collection of transactions, right? So it doesn't lie with a single node, it lies with every node. So that is when I said, as a person, if you have a laptop and internet connection, you can download the database of Bitcoin. So that will be with you, right? So there is no restrictions around it. But right now, if I go and ask the SBI, what is the database of information, I cannot do that, right? So that is the distributed part of it. Each node which is participating in that blockchain or that system, right, have a copy of the database, right? So the database itself is distributed across all the nodes, right? And again, this can be public and private. Public is something like I said, Bitcoin and blockchain, sorry, Ethereum. Private can be, like I said, if I take example of BMW, right? So they will have their own. All the employees who are in that company have that access, right? They only can access that database. As a person, as a third party, as a outsider, I cannot access that database, right? So blockchain also can be of private and public, and that is something called hybrid type, right? If I mix them, it will be a hybrid blockchain, right? So again, we'll discuss that 3 types of blockchain. Actually, 4 types of blockchain, but we'll focus on 3 types of blockchain. One is public blockchain, a private blockchain, and a hybrid blockchain, right? This part clear, or any doubt on this? Yeah, Minhaj. Yeah.
But sir, in case of private blockchain, we can view the transaction, right? I mean,
No.
we cannot create or change.
So you cannot do anything. So it is a basically you can do that in a hybrid, because access will be provided to you depending upon your authorizations, right? Access will be provided to you, right? But in a private blockchain, it will be hidden from you. You'll know that that company is using blockchain, but you won't have access to that. Is this clear or doubt?
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Yeah.
so what are the examples of hybrid?
Hybrid, you can think of, let's say, government right now putting into the voting system, right? So if they implement a voting system through blockchain, right now what is happening? Though we have a e-voting system, that machine is there, right? And there are a lot of mechanisms which are there to ensure that there is no duplicates, right? But I know that, or you also know that there are places where there are double voting, right? There can be a hybrid blockchain which can be created with Aadhaar or a certain identity as our identity, right? And access will be
But sir,
provided.
this is not adopted, I think. Means,
Currently, no.
yet started.
Currently, no. So so you are asking of which has been implemented.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I have to
Is
search
there
on
any
that.
company who have?
I have to search on
Okay.
that. I cannot think of any use case which has been already implemented. Beta stage, yes, but not in the final production stage.
Okay.
Because see, hybrid is something, there are many use cases for public, many use cases for private. Hybrid is something where both the access will be given based upon your requirement to public, like people like you and me. So most of the times, if you think of hybrid, you can think of whenever there is a blockchain from government or a public, let's say municipalities and all those things, right? In Denmark, they did it for some time, but right now I don't think it is there. It was a bike sharing system. So right now, as you know that in Bhubaneswar also they launched those bike sharing system, right? In Denmark, they used to have that system. So it was a hybrid blockchain, but right now it is not working. It was not that much successful, right? Currently, I have to search for if there are blockchains which are hybrid based and already implemented. Clear or any doubt? Yes, yes, Amar.
Yes,
Go ahead, go ahead.
So the government of Illinois is currently implementing blockchain in order to verify their birth and death certificates, social security numbers, and other facilities provided to the citizens.
Already implemented?
Yes, sir. They have been doing it since the last couple of years, I believe.
Okay. Then
It
yeah,
was in
then,
testing, and last year or last they have done it.
okay, okay. Then that is a good example of a blockchain, sorry, hybrid blockchain, right? So here public people like you and me will have certain access to it. It will be open, but there will be also access restrictions where the like government employees or who are into that municipality or the federal system, right? They'll have a separate access system, right? So this is a mix of public and private blockchain, right? Yes, if it is implemented, that will be a good example of a hybrid blockchain. Any questions before we proceed to the next part? Okay. Again, each of these will discuss in detail how this happens, but just to understand the properties of a blockchain, right? So the definition of blockchain will be blockchain is a type of a DLT. DLT means distributed ledger technology, where which transactions are recorded with certain cryptographic algorithms, right? Cryptographic algorithms to maintain that privacy, right? Privacy and security, right? So this part we have discussed distributed. That means each node, each participant will can have a copy of that blockchain, right? Again, depending upon the blockchain type, if it is a private, as a public, as a third party, I cannot have access to that. That is also there. Immutable, that is a big property or a most important property of a blockchain. Once transaction has happened, verified, right, and has been integrated into a blockchain, it is impossible to change that. It is impossible to modify that kind of, right? So that is also one of the disadvantages also. Let's say you wanted to send 100 rupees, 1000 rupees to somebody. By mistake, you have put 10,000 rupees, right? And later on, you realize that rather than sending 1000 rupees, you have sent 10,000 rupees. See, because that part nobody can check, right? Ideally, I have to send 1000 rupees, but by mistake, I put another zero. Less than that, yeah, that is okay. But more than that, if it has already been sent, right? It has been included in a block, right? Reversing it is difficult. Difficult means it is impossible, right? So that is the immutable part of it, right? Nobody can modify that part, right? But in a bank transaction, if you apply, if the other party agrees, it might happen. Certain transactions can be cancelled. I'm not sure the time limit of it, within how much time you have to approach the bank. Again, the bank regulations also apply. But in the blockchain, any type of blockchain you are thinking of, right? Once the transactions has happened, it has been verified, right? And it has been a part of the block, right? It cannot be modified, it cannot be altered, right? So that is one significant advantage, disadvantage also, in case you do a mistake, right? Next property is timestamp. Yes, yes, Swagat.
Sir,
Yeah.
so what if that amount is not in the account? Means
Yeah. So
if by mistakenly we type 10,000, if that amount is not in the account, then what amount will be deducted or it will be cancelled?
It will be cancelled. So the miners will check that whether that transaction is valid or not. Validity means whether you have money or you have that kind of authority to send that money. If it is not there, it will be cancelled. It is not a verified transaction. So let's
What
say
if there will be only 5,000 rupees in the account and instead of 1,000, we have by mistakenly typed that 10,000. It will deduct
that is
that 5,000
no,
also,
no.
or it will cancel?
They will not know it is 5,000, right? So you have passed for 10,000. You do not have money of 10,000. The transaction is not verified. The transactions won't happen. It is same as banks also, right? So let's say you write a check of 10,000 rupees, right? And you have only 5,000 rupees. So that check cannot be
It will be bounced.
bounced, right? So that is the same thing here also, right? But here what happens? There is no like a centralized authority who is checking that, right? Any miner can check that for you, and whoever does that and includes that in a block, creates that block, he'll get certain like kind of money out of that kind of creating that block or putting that effort into blockchain.
So have you ever tried building this blockchain?
No, not up to now. So you are asking creating a blockchain?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, have you tried or not? Sir, asking that.
No, not up. Next one is timestamp. So that is again one part of the security, right? Every transaction happens, right? Every blockchain happens, right? Remember that why it is important. At a certain point of time, it is not a single authority who is checking the transactions, right? 10,000 miners or 50,000 miners who are working at that moment, right? Everybody is working on that, right? So time stamping is very much required. Why? Because whichever person or whichever mining group is able to solve that puzzle and create that block, right? So they will be treated as winner and they will be creating that block, right? So that is why every block, every transaction will be timestamped, so that there is no dispute that okay, we did it in the same time and you got the money, right? Also, the timestamps is required to answer what Swagat was asking, just like that. There might be a case I have only 5,000 rupees in my account, right? And I will tell that okay, because there is no centralized authority, let me do one thing. I'll send 5,000 rupees to Samrat and 5,000 rupees to Chinmay and 5,000 rupees to Alisa. But I have only 5,000 rupees. Now what happens? It might be a scenario where these transactions has been being verified by different miners. Now what happens? When the miner is checking already, okay, 5,000 rupees in the account of Swagat, the transaction is valid, verified. So he will send it to a block. Similarly, other miner checks, okay, 5,000 is there, it will be sent to, it will be verified. So in that case, that's why the timestamp is required. Whichever, so because every miner is doing that verification, right? Whichever verifications happens first, right? That transaction will happen. Other transactions will be cancelled or invalidated, right? You got this point or not? I was just talking about the other scenario where you have only 5,000 rupees. You are not sending 10,000 rupees to one account. Obviously, if you send to one account, that is invalid transaction. Now what you'll do, you have created 3 transactions, and by luck, or because it is a probability scenario, right? 3 different miners have started working on that transaction, right? In 3 different point of time. So now what will happen? When that person checks, yes, you have, because the transactions has not happened, right? They're just checking whether you have that money or not. So yes, you have 5,000 rupees. The other person also will check, yes, you have 5,000 rupees. The third miner also will check, yes, you have 5,000 rupees. So now which transaction will be validated? Which transaction has been verified by the miner first? If miner A verifies, yes, uh, he has, Swagat has 5,000 rupees, this is a valid transaction. So whichever, let's say he has sent to Chinmay, that transaction is valid. Other 2 transactions will be invalid and won't happen, right? So that is the time stamping part, and that also it gets every transaction get timestamped, every block also get timestamped, right? Unanimous. Right now, at least the most of the blockchains work on that 51% is kind of voting. So what happens once somebody says that okay, I have created a block, right? That information will be circulated across all the participants, all the miners, right? So if 51%, let's say there are 100 miners, right? 51 miners say that yes, we agree with that, then the next, so they'll get into the next block or next bit of transactions, right? So that is the meaning of unanimous. Unanimous doesn't mean all the miners will agree 100 of the miners, right? As long as you have a majority, 51%, right? That block
Sir,
will be, yeah.
sir, if the hacker tries to get into the data, then that person has to, sir, get into more than 51% of computers hacked. So that is it is a stats, sir. Less than 51%, the data cannot be hacked, and it is quite impossible because computers are separate, presented. So it has been spread all around.
Yeah, and that was actually a big challenge when kind of Bitcoin started gaining popularity, because once upon a time China used to have, right now because there is a from their government side they are kind of putting many regulations and clamps on Bitcoin mining. But once upon a time there used to be a scenario where China has more than so when it's a China, obviously not the China government, the miners from China were more than half, 51%, around 60% of the Bitcoin mining capacity. Right now, I'm not sure after this clampdown from government has happened, right? So there was certain discussions whether it can be hacked from China side, because if around 60% or 55% of the miners are from China, right? All of them come together and they'll keep validating any transactions, right? It, whether that was possible, right? But again, like because it is not kind of maintained by a single entity, like kind of collating or kind of getting into agreement of all those 50% or 55% miners is kind of a big difficulty. Yeah, Sagar.
Sir, how many miners are there in total? Means, is there any number, or they're infinite, or they're uncountable?
Like, yeah, so that is not a constant number right now. I think it will be in millions, right? Because see, you can also get into the mining part, right? So it is not that there is a limit to it. Today, if you open your laptop, download that uh, blockchain and start mining on that, right? You will become a miner. Obviously, you have to create an account and all those things, right? You have to create have your private key and public key. But at that point of time, tomorrow you say that, oh, tomorrow you will not be mining for the next block, right? So for each block, number of miners keep increasing or decreasing, right? Number of miners who are mining at that point of time. But I guess for Bitcoin, it will be in millions, millions of miners working at a single point of time. So
Miners are the drivers of these transactions, or what we can call them.
miners are the verifiers. Verifiers are validators of the transaction. Think of miners as the banks. Think of the miners as the third party who will verify those transactions. Verify any number of transactions.
So
Yeah.
means they will be waiting if there will be a transaction going to happen. They will
There is no
verify
waiting
that,
time
and
because
after
transactions keep happening every second. So as such, there is no waiting time. Earlier, yes. So when Bitcoin started, maybe yes, but right now, I don't think there is no waiting time. So every second there are transactions
so
being
is there
created.
any particular miner for the particular transaction, or the miners can be from anywhere of the world?
Miners can.
For,
So that is the advantage, right? So there is no central authority who will assign, okay, you mine this, you mine that, right? Anybody can mine whatever is the latest block. But the point is, whichever person has the biggest computing power at that point of time, right? Most of the times they will win that block, or kind of will be able to verify the transaction and create a block.
So can you explain this again? This timestamped. I am getting little bit confused.
Timestamp means that the time of the transaction verifications has been coded into the that block or the transaction element, right? So let's say right now, what is the time? 9:47. So 9:47 second, whatever the millisecond or microsecond, right? The transaction has been verified by, let's say, miner A or miner B. So that has been written down as a part of the code in your blockchain element, right? So now what happens if somebody has to dispute it, right? Let's say the two transactions from your account has happened parallelly. Let's say you, by mistake or knowingly, you have 5,000 rupees and send money to two accounts, right? Obviously, there will be a time gap. Now, when they are verifying, whichever transaction will get verified first, so that will be a valid transaction, other transaction will be invalid. So that is the meaning of timestamp, because every transaction verification has a timestamp means has a time written on over that in that code.
So this is the time written when the transaction started, or it is the time
Verified,
how
verified,
much the
verified.
taken? Verified.
Transaction when it is verified.
Okay, okay, sir. Got it. Thank you.
Obviously anonymous. I cannot know who is doing transaction at that point of time, right? I can know their address, but by using that address, I cannot know the identity part of it. So that is like Alisa was asking, because that is big challenge for governments. Anybody can transact to anywhere in that without paying money, any taxes. It is not only about the like kind of buying drugs or doing illegal activities. It can be just whatever money I have, I'll not give any income tax to my government. I'll send to other location, right? Nobody can track that, right? So that is also a kind of a challenge for government on those taxation part, right? Secure, like I said, every transaction, every address has been encrypted, right? It is a one-way encryption. That means by using the that whatever has been encrypted, right? I cannot decrypt it and understand which person has transacted to whom, right? Programmable, that is the part where the smart contract is coming. Think about any transaction. One part is financial transaction. Think about any transaction when it's in transaction in terms of supply chain, transaction in terms of document verification, right? So if I say that, so if I write a bit of code and say that, okay, if these are there, these elements are there, right? Approve the transaction. Or if these elements are there, this document is correct or verified, right? Rather than a person verifying all the details, right? If I write a program which can read those line items and say that yes, this document, this information is correct, right? So that is a part of smart contract. Smart contract is nothing but a bit of lines of code which mimics human intelligence, right? So what as a person you and me do? Let's say I want to check a paper or I want to authorize certain payment. So I'll read that document and say that yes, yes, this amount of money is correct, approve the transaction, right? Rather than a person doing that, right? If there are line of code I can write, so that is the meaning of a smart contract. And that will execute if the document is meeting all those necessary information, right? Then that can be executed, right? So that is a smart contract. Again, we'll discuss that in detail. And that is one of the big use case of blockchain, right? Not only the cryptocurrency part, smart contract again is one of the biggest use case of blockchain. Anything you can think of in supply chain or this, like I said, organic, let's say food marketing and all those things, right? Or healthcare document verification, right? All those things can be done using smart contracts, right? So that is something again we'll discuss. We'll spend some time understanding what is a smart contract and how that works. Any questions on this? Again, like I said, each of these things, next 2 to 3 sessions, we'll try to understand how does it work, how that algorithm works, right? But at a overall kind of understanding, any questions on this? So this is what already we have discussed, right? A transaction is requested. So this is a peer-to-peer network, right? It is a distributed ledger, right? So once a transaction happens, right, it will be circulated over. So it is not that it's to a single person or to a single miner. So once a transaction has happened, right, everybody in that network can see that, okay, this transaction has happened. The network of nodes uses known algorithms to validate the transaction and user status. So that is where I said they'll check that, okay, whether you have money in your account or whether the information is correct, right? So that's why it can transaction, not only the monetary transaction, it can involve information also, records also, right? So obviously cryptocurrency is one big kind of application of blockchain. Apart from that, I can use smart contracts, records, information, whether those are correct or not, right? Once transaction has been verified within the time limit, 10 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever time limit has been given or has been established, right? Number of transactions will be like I showed you, there is around 2055 transactions in the last block, which has happened in Bitcoin, right? Number of transactions get together one miner or number of miners will be trying to create that block, right? Whichever miner is able to do that first, right? That block will be created, right? So new block once it is created, it will be like, obviously this has to be like kind of agreed by 51%, more than 51% of the miners. Once they agree upon, it will be added to the blockchain, right? Now the transaction has finished, right? So this total time on an average takes 10 minutes. Yes, yes. Who was raised? Swagat and Ankita, yeah, go ahead.
So I was having the question, like, as you said that 51% of the miners will agree, like, so how they will know that this block will be created, is being created, so that they will agree
So
upon?
whichever person or whichever miner creates the block, right? So they will send that information across all the nodes saying that I have created this block. So let's say there are, like, in this class right now 41 students, right? So I will, let's say, give you a random number, right? And you will write an program which will try to find out, match that random number, right? So I'm just giving you an example, right? Let's say I write a code and it creates a random number and you have to match that, right? 41 of you are trying to match that, right? At certain point of time, one person will, let's say, able to create that whatever I want as a random number. You are able to create that random number, right? So that is the puzzle, creating that number, right? Let's say you, Ankita, created, right? So what will you say? I have created this number. This was I need to create, and I have created this. Once you say that, that information is being circulated to all other 40 participants, right? So obviously they'll say that this has been created, and they'll like kind of, once they approve that, it will that block will be created. So that is the part of agreement. So let's say there are 41 right now. There are 41 participants. I will give you a puzzle. All 40 of you are trying to solve that puzzle, and you know the answer. You know that, okay, this is this answer you have to get, right? So that is the puzzle part. You have to solve the puzzle in such a way that, solve the algorithm in such a way that at the end that number will be get created. Let's say Ankita created that number. Ankita is the first person to create that number because she has, let's say, the best laptop or the most computing power. Once she creates that, she'll say that, and that information will be circulated to all other 39 members saying that Ankita has created this block by solving the puzzle, by creating that random number. Once that has been circulated to other miners, other participants in this kind of program, if 51% of this say that yes, that is correct, this was the number which was required and she has created correctly, then the block will be created. Was that your question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, Swagat, you had raised your hand, right?
So I forgot to lower my hand. So
Oh, okay. So these are the kind of different use cases or different areas where kind of blockchain can be used, right? It can be land registry, land management, like Samrat was talking about. Already there is implementation on the birth or death records, right? So that is in the part of public policy or the government side. It can be on the supply chain management. It can be on the insurance side, right? Clearing on settlement, right? The insurance claims are there, that can be cleared. Documents can be verified as quickly as possible, right? Without any, because right now, I think I had right now applied for my health insurance. Already 1.5 months are over, right? If the document verification can be done within very short time period of time, right? That process won't take that much time period, right? So a hybrid blockchain can be created where insurance agency and the participants like me who have taken that insurance can be use that blockchain. So whatever documents are there, I can put into the blockchain that can be verified, and payment can be made to me as quickly as possible, rather than going to the insurance company. Insurance company will send to some third party to verify the documents. Then it will take a lot of time and the payment will be made. So everywhere where you see the usage of blockchain is to as quickly as possible to verify the transactions. Transactions can be monetary transactions, person A sending money to person B. It can be information. I as a like kind of I have taken a health insurance. To get that health insurance money, I will send the my health whatever hospital bills and the test reports to insurance agencies. It can be that information also, right? So when we talk about transaction, think of transaction not only in terms of monetary transaction, anything, any set of idea information transacted between two parties, right? It can be two persons, it can be two organizations, right? It can be money, it can be information, it can be anything, right? It can be any document also. Right? Digital identity assurance, think of Aadhaar, if it has been like kind of, if it is very much required in terms of voting and all those things, right? If I can identify as a person in that blockchain, right, and I have voted, right, I cannot do it again because that has been used, right? My identity has been used once to vote. It can be for a national level voting or a state level voting, right? So most of the things, again, some of it, not all of it, within the limited time, 4 to 5 sessions we'll have, right? We'll try to see maximum number of use cases where blockchain can be used, right? These are the overall as of now where blockchain can be used or the use cases has been happened. So when I say use case, by using blockchain, they're trying to create a product or service which can be used by individuals like you and me, right? Any questions on this? I know that I have not discussed on this because we'll spend around majority of our sessions discussing few of these in detail.
Sir, if so many applications of blockchain are there in the market, so why only they are only concentrated on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency? Whenever we open up Google, it's just showing these
Yeah.
two
So
terms
when I say
mostly, and
use,
why not
yeah,
these?
yeah, because when I say use case, financial services are the ones which has been implemented, right? Which has been in the production stage for the last 4 to 5 years, has been utilized by most of us, right? Or not most of us, at least some of us, right? Others are basically in the kind of testing stage, somewhere in the limited persons they have started using it, right? It has not been on the mainstream, right? Like I said, supply chain management, right? Everybody knows that blockchain can be used. There is a proper use case for that. There is framework for that, right? But very few companies have started using that because implementing that needs that knowledge. Like I said, knowledge not only of the framework, technology side, you have to be like kind of make sure that you will be able to implement that. You have to also put certain investment, right? Because if it is a private blockchain, on those security side and all those things, you have to put certain investment side. If it is a public blockchain, it, let's say government is trying to put it, again it will be a lot of investment they have to put. So to answer your question, why only financial services? Because that was the first, if you see Bitcoin in 2009, when that paper came, that white paper came, it was the first implementation. So that was the, it got 10 to 11 of years of time to develop different kind of cryptocurrencies or solutions on financial services. Supply chain, public policy, healthcare, please, let's say consumer goods, they have just started 2 or 3 years back. So it will take another 2 to 3 years to mature that kind of technology or framework to get it implemented. So there are many use cases. When I say use cases, they have created applications, right? But number of people who are using that is very less. In other financial services, there are many people who are using that. But let's say if I think about automobile, I know only BMW. I do not know any other company who have already implemented blockchain into supply chain. Right? There will be companies who have started using that, not into the full stream. So that is a big challenge. Getting the framework technology kind of matured enough to implement these kind of use cases across industries, right? But like I said, it will take certain time, 2 to 3 years down the line. I think almost all the industry will have certain production stage applications of blockchain. Yes, yes, Sandra.
So, as you said that in the next couple of years or in the nearby future, we can expect blockchain to be accepted as a worldwide major protocol in terms
Correct.
of like maintaining data security and data integrity. But sir, won't it affect the giant players in the market such as Amazon, Facebook, and Google, who currently have kind of a monopoly over the world's 90-95% of data stream? S3 bucket has such loads of data, sir. Now, if it goes entirely on a decentralized platform, they won't be able to access such high volumes of data. And we can see that all the machine learning features that they have implemented due to this repository of data, which they can use for training, it will be entirely obsolete at that point of time.
You are correct. Gradually it will happen, and that should be the kind of case, right? So nobody should have access to my information without my authorization, right? Which is happening in most of the social media platforms, right? And they have unauthorized access, and they used it like kind of like they like want to do it, right? Facebook, LinkedIn, even Instagram, Amazon, Flipkart, right? Now the challenge
Yes, sir.
is how these companies will do. Amazon have started using blockchain in certain extent, right? I think by the time next 5 to 10 years, they also will start adopting it. But yes, there will be a challenge, like you said, how customer information will be there if they have a machine learning algorithm, right? To like take customer data and show them the relevant whatever marketing campaigns and all those things. Once
Yes, sir.
this kind of technology becomes mainstream, right? And I don't want to share my data and my identity, right? So those are the few things. Yes, I do not have correct answer how it will happen, but I think if there is certain thing, this kind of everybody started using that, right? They'll also kind of it will be a kind of a hybrid blockchain most of the times, right? Where certain identity, you know that okay, these are the persons I have given access to, right? It is a mix up. So that's why I said right now the stage where blockchain frameworks are there, 2 or 3 years down the line, it will change, right? Certain aspects of our identity or information will be open, right? And certain aspects will be like kind of, let's say, my name and address or the like kind of overall address, if it is open, I might be okay with that, but I'm not okay with sharing my credit card details or sharing my CBB details, right? So that part can be the part of the blockchain where it is very much secure, right? So it will be a mix of that, but that is a good question, right? How those companies will work 3 or 5 years down the line if blockchain gets implemented everywhere. If the identity of each individual is like encrypted and it cannot be decrypted, right? So yes, it will be a big challenge for them.
Thank you, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah. Yes, Ankita.
Sir, actually, we are having class with Dean sir now.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
can we leave?
Yeah. Please go ahead. We have already exceeded time. Please create your groups and please send the details to your Asrit, right? So that he can send me the group details by next class, right? Next class again we'll get into the details of whatever we discussed today, and we'll discuss the blockchain element. Right? Chalo, if there are any questions, we'll discuss in next class. I have already taken your 6 minutes. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sir,